You hold a multi-million-dollar supercomputer in the palm of your hand every single day, yet your photographs still look like disposable, low-effort digital garbage.
Oh, no.
Let us confront the absolute truth within the very first second of this video. You stand in front of an incredible architectural masterpiece or a beautifully lit urban alleyway. You pull out your smartphone. You press the shutter button, and you instantly expect a stunning, high-end image that belongs on the cover of an editorial magazine. But when you look down at the display, your creative spirit is instantly crushed. The scene looks incredibly flat. The colors are completely washed out. The dynamic range is entirely non-existent, and the composition feels messy and uninspiring. You immediately tell yourself that your smartphone sensor is simply too small, or you assume that you need to invest thousands of dollars into a massive professional camera system to capture real art. Let me shatter that illusion permanently. The problem is not the physical limitation of your smartphone hardware. The reason your mobile photos look like cheap snapshots is because you are letting the automatic programming of your device make every single artistic and geometric decision for you. You are treating a highly sophisticated tool of creative expression like a passive scanning device. I am Mr.Simple, and I use the simplest, least awkward ways to help you master photography. Today, we are going to completely rewrite the rules of mobile documentation forever. We are going to permanently bypass the generic factory settings of your phone and unlock a world of breathtaking cinematic imagery through 4 structural tactical choices that will instantly transform your device from a casual toy into a devastating weapon of visual storytelling. Shift 1. The trap of the default lens and the spatial extremes. The biggest mistake billions of smartphone users make every single day is a total reliance on the default lens. The moment you open your camera application, your phone automatically forces you to shoot with its standard primary lens, usually hovering around a focal length of 24mm or 28mm. This perspective is a geometric no man's land. It does not possess the extreme distortion required to create a massive architectural perspective, yet it completely lacks the tight optical compression necessary to strip away background distractions. It forces you to capture everything, which ultimately means you capture absolutely nothing of actual substance. Your frame becomes filled with empty pavements and random clutter. To shatter this mediocrity, you must actively abandon the middle ground and force your camera sensor into the realms of spatial extremes. Cultivate the discipline to use only your ultra-wide lens or your dedicated telephoto zoom lens. When you switch to an ultra-wide perspective, get dangerously close to your physical foreground elements. Lower your device to the pavement and tilt it slightly upward. Suddenly, leading lines expand outward with violent cinematic energy. On the opposite end lies your telephoto lens, such as a 3x or 5x optical zoom. Long lenses physically compress the space between your foreground and background, acting as heavy visual scissors that slice away chaotic urban noise and distracting crowds. Force your world into the extreme narrative power of the ultra-wide or the ultra-tight. Shift 2. Taking radical control of shutter and shadow. The modern smartphone is engineered to be a tool of absolute convenience. The internal algorithms are programmed with one sterile goal: to make sure every single corner of your image is perfectly bright and completely free of deep shadows. The phone aggressively forces a state of artificial HDR balance onto your world, lifting up dark areas until the entire image looks like a sterile rendering with absolutely zero mood or atmosphere. If you let your device decide the exposure automatically, you will inevitably end up with a photograph that feels flat and devoid of human emotion. You must introduce radical manual intervention. The moment you tap on your screen to establish focus, a small exposure slider, usually represented by a bright yellow sun icon, will appear. Grab that slider and aggressively drag it downward. By forcing the camera into deep underexposure, you instantly transform ordinary, distracting background elements into deep, ink-black pools of shadow. This allows you to create high-contrast graphic silhouettes where the human form becomes a powerful, mysterious shape. If you want to push this further, download a third-party camera application that unlocks manual control over your physical shutter speed. By locking your phone onto a sturdy surface and dropping your shutter speed to 1 full second, the chaotic movement of a crowd transforms into a gorgeous blur of motion, while your central subject remains perfectly sharp and still. Shift 3. Synthesizing the optical dimension of focus. Because smartphone camera modules use physically miniature sensors and short actual focal lengths, they possess a massive native depth of field. This means everything from a leaf 3 inches in front of your face to a mountain range 30 miles away will remain completely sharp at the exact same time. This total lack of optical separation is the absolute hallmark of a cheap snapshot, denying your image the luxurious background separation that our eyes naturally associate with high-end cinema. To master this depth, you must master the synthesis of portrait modes and the software-driven background separation. Most casual creators turn portrait mode on, stand 10 feet away, and expect magic. To make it look indistinguishable from an expensive professional cinema lens, you must carefully curate physical distances. The mathematical formula is simple. Minimize the distance between your phone and your subject while maximizing the distance between your subject and the background. If your subject stands flat against a solid wall, the algorithm will struggle, resulting in a cheap cutout effect. But if you pull your subject 20 feet away from that wall and position your lens just a few feet away from their eyes, the software-generated blur will transition smoothly, creating a gorgeous fall-off that instantly isolates your subject. Shift 4. Unlocking the raw canvas of total dynamic truth. When you take a standard photograph, your device immediately compresses all the rich light information into a highly compressed JPEG file. During this automated process, the internal processor permanently discards over 90% of the actual color data and the critical highlight information. It bakes its own generic contrast and aggressive sharpening directly into the pixels, leaving you with absolutely zero room to adjust colors or create an intentional cinematic color grade later during post-production. To rescue your photography, dive into your settings menu and activate the RAW or ProRAW recording format. Shooting in RAW completely deactivates the phone's automated destructive pre-processing engine, preserving every single scrap of pure luminous data. When you first look at a RAW file, it might look flat or muted, but that is the ultimate proof of an uncompressed canvas. The moment you import that file into a mobile editing application like Lightroom, you gain absolute surgical control. You possess the power to reach into a blown-out sky and pull back the textures of hidden clouds, or reach deep into shadows to rescue beautiful skin tones without introducing digital noise. You are fully stepping into the shoes of a professional digital colorist, carving your own artistic identity out of pure visual truth. The philosophy of the tethered soul. When you systematically integrate these 4 choices into your daily mobile habits, your relationship with the physical world will undergo a permanent revolution. You will completely stop looking at your smartphone as a lazy digital narcotic, and you will begin to re-evaluate it as an incredibly precise extension of your own human consciousness. By avoiding the flat trap of the 24mm lens, commanding your shadows through manual underexposure, synthesizing optical depths, and protecting your data with the RAW format, you successfully reclaim your human sovereignty from the cold machine. Remember this essential truth. Mobile photography is never about upgrading the physical glass in your pocket to prove your status. It is the absolute spiritual discipline of realizing that the most beautiful lens in the universe will always be the quiet intentionality of your own focused attention, because a machine left to its own automatic programming can only generate a thoughtless record of geography, but a simple phone guided by a deliberate human soul becomes a sacred monument to a fleeting moment of existence. If you want to understand the deeper philosophy of visual design and master the art of the camera through the absolute simplest, most effective methods available today, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now and join our growing studio community. Leave a comment below telling me which of these 4 mobile techniques you are going to activate the very next time you pull your phone out of your pocket. I am Mr. Simple, and I use the simplest, least awkward ways to help you master photography. I will see you in the next frame. Peace.